So I'm going to pick straight back up on turn 11 and probably go through till turn 25 because there's this window of activity that happens with the first assault of the Soviets. And in terms of what we've got going on here, I think there's a bit of back and forth that happens between the strikers on the left and the tanks that are coming up to the brow of the hill on Mine Hill. The scimitars in Mine Hill Woods are repositioning away from the tanks. You can see spotting icons because whilst there is audio contacts, which is primarily what we work off, there is some close calls for the scimitars with actual visual contacts. And then you can kind of spot down here as well, the BMPs break out of the woods here. The intent, as I think I've covered in the last video, was I hoped they would come down here. They don't. They seem to be pushing round to this side. So the first part over here, this striker makes the spot on the next vehicle that comes out of the woods. We get a bit of a rubbish attempt with the ATGM there. This, well, whoa, just seen a return fire. And this one picks up the spot and they engage as well. I think it ends the turn though on another cliffhanger. So it's fired, but it doesn't reach the target. So the last 5 seconds here. Yeah, not going to see in this turn. Then over on Shepherd Hill, here's the BMPs that round the corner. And in terms of the direction they're heading, they look like they're making they're following the edge of the wood and potentially go back into the wood to loop round behind us. And then the scimitar here, I think a bit of a cat and mouse in the woods with the T-64s heading the other direction. Turn 12. So I think we just saw an impact on the ATGM over on the left. Continue to see these move around here. The note focuses primarily though on a contact that breaks out here. There we go. So now I don't know how it got there. I don't know if it spawned in here. I don't know if it worked its way along the close edge of the woods and hooked round. But I now have tank contacts coming down the road into Calbeck. They are in a dip out of sight of the strikers. They're heading straight for the only thing in town, the mortars. And I start having to think about what to do about that. So, and actually I'll look down here first. So, these are in a sort of hold down position focused on the tree line. Yeah, that got knocked out. Tree line at the top of the woods, because that's where I'm expecting them to come out. If they're further up, they can see more of this further down the hill, but they're more exposed to the top of the hill. So that's why they're there, and that's why these are in dead ground basically. And I think, well, I know they completely avoid the minefield and they do manage to get into the town. I suppose still on turn 12, and I've paused it at the moment, so that's why nothing's moving. I'll skip through a bit, and you can see quite a development of sound contacts on Shepherd's Hill. Quite a similar on Mine Hill, working our way round to the edge, past the scimitars. And I think, yeah, so the dismounted crew of that bogged scimitar, they're starting to make sound contacts as well on the north-south road. Turn 13, so with the tanks coming up to Calbeck, I make a decision to take the strikers on the 248 embankment and bring them up 2 positions to sort of assist there. I think as well No, I don't make the decision to move the engineers yet. But I do make quite a few calls of emergency fire in the area of Shepherd Hill. So I think I don't normally make emergency fire missions, if I'm honest, but I'm really hoping here that the target reference point assists me and that we can get some help up on Shepherd Hill. And then Calbeck, these 3 tanks, they're leading off into Calbeck, which is really quite concerning. Just spotted another pretty useless ATGM there. But it looks like, yeah, the mortars are probably what's the emergency fire coming in here. Turn 14, so this is the turn where I make this absolute repositioning of the engineers. And it needs, basically I need to completely pivot them. So the vehicles push up to, well, out of the line of fire here. And the engineers push firstly into Calbeck Woods. And later on they sort of have to hunt the tanks through the village itself. There's continued back and forth. I think I just spotted a Milan heading across to Mine Hill. And another quite aggressive, I could see the shot I think landed down here. I'll take a closer look in a second. That looks like another Milan heading across from Salzgitter Hill. Can hear as well, so fire missions are being called in on Shepherd Hill, I believe. Yeah, here just to confirm, that's artillery from the forward observer onto Shepherd Hill. There we go, just about make it out. So I've just checked it back and it's actually back and forth between Salzgitter Hill and Mine Hill. So the Milans are the ones actually making the shots across as this, I think it's probably tank company, form up on the edge here. You can see the artillery again. Here we go, here's a Milan. Does that knock it out? I'm not sure. Oh! Fire out going towards the back of Calbeck. I think there is a oops. Second hit on, I think that was the same vehicle. That cooks off. Just look at this shot again, because it's quite an impressive view from the top of the hill. And you can see, so they don't actually fire this turn, but this is why. They're in nice hull down positions from Mine Hill. But that position means they can't see into the dip here. And then turn 15, this is when the helicopters are due to arrive on their delay. I think the notes I've got here mainly focus on the engineers, so from the woods they do manage to engage the tanks. But the tanks keep pushing through the village really.
Target identified.
The strikers from the 248 embankment arrive at the sort of train embankment here. This back and forth continues. I do think they got off a couple of shots this turn. I vaguely spotted a missile head out, and then you might just make out here. This is, I think, our first helicopter ATGM. So there's one that comes in on Shepherd Hill. And I'll have to check, but I think another one comes in down here. I don't know if it's this turn or the next turn. But yeah. It's starting to get a bit heated. So here's the Have we hit anything? They do manage to get off a couple of rockets. See if I can spot when it happens. Oh, that looks like one. There we go. Oh, that looks... Is that a hit or that looks like a near miss? Yeah, near miss. So that's just skimmed over the top. This isn't looking great. So these vehicles have continued pushing round to here. Do I do anything with them? So it looks like as a bit of a fallback I take one of the sections, so these little sections down here with the Calbeck staff. Looks like I push one round on this flank if they make a dash past. I imagine the next turn is the one that I just, well, so you can't see it on the screen, but this has fired all of its Milan. This has 2 left, but we're now taking fire from the opposite hill. So I think in the next turn I decide to pull them back to their vehicles for rearmament. Anything else? We'll go to turn 16 because the note for that has a lot happening, and I think that might be more interesting. But I suppose I'll just go back quick. Can I see it? Yeah, we can just about make out the first ATGM coming in. Where did it go? First ATGM, can't zoom in, that's annoying. Sort of on the flank of the vehicles in Shepherd Hill. Let's go to turn 16. So turn 16, this is the one I've got as quite a bit happening. You can just about make an explosion there. That is the helicopters coming in behind the north-south road contacts. The engineers here, you can see them pushing over to the left. They are pursuing the tanks into Calbeck to try and engage with Law. You can see another, I think that's off-map helicopter firing in on Mine Hill. And I think we also get another at the end of this turn coming in to Calbeck Woods. And I mean, you can hear all the radio chatter as well. There's quite a lot of emergency fire being called in on Shepherd Hill and 10 platoon on Shepherd Hill that was going to ambush. I've made a decision to withdraw them because they're about to get outflanked basically. So I'll just cover some of that from this direction. So not doing too badly on the hill, and you can see in a second the emergency fire coming in on that sound contact there, and that again is an off-map helicopter. I think I just spotted something there, so hang on. Here we go, so you do get your first tank on the north-south road, but I think I'm willing to bet it wasn't a tank-on-tank engagement. No. There you go, so like I say, the off-map helicopter that's coming from this direction fires on, it's basically firing on vehicles coming up the north-south road. I think that probably got one here, And then you can see it looks like it's heading in the wrong direction. That's the beauty of guided munitions. Because it just turns and smacks it in the back. So yeah. And before I press play on turn 17, I basically want to cover... Most of my plans have been upended. These 3 tanks that smash through to Calbeck, they have come out of nowhere. They're not following the routes I expected, so I was expecting to be able to engage them at the top of the hill as they're coming down. I was expecting to engage them on this sort of gap here. That's not happened. They've gone through the woods. They appear to have skirted the woods, and they have completely avoided the minefield and managed to get into town. I should have picked it up. It is in the brief that they will use the woods. I didn't quite anticipate it would literally be the woods instead of woodland tracks or what have you. But yeah, turn 17, I press play. It's still kicking off. So we now have tanks at the bend, tanks in town with a back and forth with the engineers. I think the ATGMs on the embankment here get involved as well. The artillery is falling on the ambush area, whilst 10 platoon starts pulling out of there. And then ATGMs from the helicopters, so they continue to engage here. Yeah, there's a lot of chatter going on, basically because there's so much emergency fire being called in a bit of a panic, trying to regain control of the situation. So I think, here we go, missile away, get them. That looks like a crew that's probably been hit by the engineers. Did I miss anything? Another ATGM coming in here. But no, we came over here to see if there is a tank on tank engagement. Let's see. So I think this fella does. So again, it doesn't quite look it from here. They just look like they're out on the road. But from the bend, this isn't a bad hold down position. So you can just about see the turrets on each of these vehicles. So that's not too bad a position, I don't think. So, I think a few things happened there. I think what I actually saw... Well, that was a clear tank-on-tank engagement. They both fired into this. Knocked it out. There we go. Something else happened, though. And I think over here... Yeah, you can see in the distance here another ATGM coming in from the helicopters. So one knocked out, two knocked out, a possible third knocked out by the helicopter. I'm not sure what happens with this one. We make a spot on it, and then there's a crater for a possible fourth on the bend. I suppose one last thing before we go to turn 18. In Calbeck, the engineers sort of engage on this bend. I think 2 vehicles get taken out, and then the third vehicle that sort of rolled on through past them, I think gets knocked out by one of these strikers at far too close range, but yeah. There we go. So turn 18, I think we lose one of the Milans as it's pulling back to rearm. We continue to have tanks forming up on Shepherd Hill and Mine Hill. In return, we've still got ATGMs coming in from the heli. We can hear quite a lot of armour massing on the north-south road. I think we lose one of the scimitars in Mine Hill. D Company, the commander, has to pull back in this turn, so I think they were quite far forward, between 10 and 11 platoons. They make a break for it to set up a new position further back.
Target identified.
I think, I don't know if I spotted it, but the engineers set up a new blocking position, hopefully to allow the tanks to pull back. But yeah, you can see 10 platoon, so the troops that were at the base of the hill make it to this building here, and then these troops on the ridge. I did not remember that. So it looks like the gun groups are what we pulled off the spine of the hill, and then followed with the actual AT troops. Didn't realise that. But as it stands, they've set up on this side of that spine in preparation to bug out or catch any tanks coming down this side of Shepherd Hill. Now turn 19 mostly happens in the centre on Shepherd Hill and over in Calbeck. On Shepherd's Hill, the ambush strikes the armour that's pushing down this side of Shepherd's Hill. We've also got the engineers, they bring their vehicles into Calbeck, having destroyed the free tanks. They're going to try and reinforce that over there. But it is mostly this section here, so we've got tanks coming either side of the spine, basically down the hill. Is there any other? I mean, that happens as well. So basically 10 platoon hits this company and this company hits 10 platoon as they're making a break for the 432s. I suppose before I go to turn 20, I just want to point out as well, the helicopters are absolutely causing chaos on the north-south road. So the audio contacts that we're getting from this dismounted scouts, you can see it from the jumble basically. So it's either traffic issues or that sounds or looks like there's a sort of visual audio. Well, no, there's a audio contacts in a bit of a visual mess, if that makes any sense. So the way these icons are arranged looks like they're having an absolute mare at the back there. But this is where the interesting stuff's happening. So we've got ATGMs coming out from Calbeck on Shepherd's Hill, 80 ambushes from 10 platoon as we have tanks pushed down this way. Don't think anything can handle these right now apart from a striker that's in the centre now. So those the original vehicles from 248 embankment, they have moved into the centre now. That's what's hitting this, if anything. And I think we get another tank on the right. But it's not bad for a little infantry platoon. So the amount of AT weapons, ouch. The amount of AT weapons heading out there is pretty satisfactory, really. because they're just little infantry groups. Up to this point, most of my battles have been this. So tank on tank engagements where they are hull down positions engaging attacking Soviets. So this is most of the, to this point in the campaign, what I've been seeing. This is the first use, I suppose, that I've managed to get of infantry on tanks, and so that one doesn't look well. Has that been hit? Yeah, that's been hit. That's been hit and it's burning. This one's been hit. I'm gonna guess that one's been hit and possibly immobilized or debussed. See the... Yeah, so I think they may have debussed because you can't snap to it using tab in the same way you can to other vehicles. So, oops. So you can tab to this, for example, because it's okay. You can't to that. So those 3 vehicles, abandoned, burning, and where was the other one gone? You know, they're hitting left and right. This section, though, or fire team even, does take casualties from that direct fire from the tanks, though. And what we have now for the next couple of turns is they've done their ambush. They need to break contact now. These 2, that's fine. They can pop smoke and leg it to the building, head over to the 432s. This one is in a rattled state, so I lose control of them. I can't get them to pull back, and effectively I've got these 3 lads who are left behind by the platoon. They just have to be left there. Now I'm running a bit long on time at the moment, so I'll try and focus the next wrap up on 10 platoon. So at the moment they are breaking contact, having taken out those 3 vehicles there. They are being pursued by a company though, so we are calling in an emergency mortar mission using the TRP. And otherwise we are trying to pull them back to this building, regroup, and then jump into the 432s. From there, it is then going to be a case of smoking the hill, actually putting as much smoke down as possible so I can pull back 10 platoon to the former positions of the engineers. I can't help myself though. I just want to have a little bit of look at the tank combat, and you can see the problem we've got with T64. So even within this close range, we've had 2 bounces there from the front plate of the T64. So turn 22 is the one where this section up here gets cut off and left behind. These 2 sections do take casualties trying to make their break for it. It's quite irritating. I wish they just went straight into this building, but you learn. That looked like something cooked off. You can see down here these vehicles are mounting up ready to bug out. So this is just on the north-south road again. And it's still returning fire. So again it bounced that shot before the 3rd hit, I think, was what did it. Did we get any others come through behind? Here's another one. Nice. Turn 23, we begin smoking out the hills. So we did have the mortar observer on the top of the university. They're getting involved as well with this TRP calling in smoke. I think the last of 10 platoon, apart from the cut-off section, mount up. And I think we start getting them facing the right direction. 24, the lead 432 pops smoke. So we're really trying to put down some smoke to cover their withdrawal. And we're also giving it a pretty good go with the artillery emergency fire on TRPs. Oh, and then you can see the three guys here, they're making their break for it as well. They won't make it, I'm not hanging around with 10 platoon, they're going to have to head off and join 11 platoon and come back with them. And then on turn 25, they make their break for it. So each of the 432s is following a path round to the old engineer position, and they are popping smoke the whole way basically. So we can make some spots on the tanks up on Shepherd Hill, but we're taking the risk. We're making a break for it and getting away from them. So, I suppose in terms of the next video, what we'll probably end up doing for a little while at least is talking through... What should we talk through? Well, there's going to be a lull in the fight basically. We could probably talk about what's going on. So it looks like we had 1 push, 2 push, 3 pushes. It quietens down, but we still have quite a lot of sound contacts on Shepherd's Hill. And then I am still looking for this explosion that happens down here, or it might already have happened. No, it hasn't. Well, I guess you'll see that in the next video. We'll call it there.